Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about aptitudes. So let's get into it. So the question in questions was, Hi Frederick, it has been said to me that programming requires a certain aptitude. According to you, what is this aptitude that people talk about and what traits do you personally have? Well, in terms of aptitude and so forth, I think it's fair to say that people have different aptitudes for various things. Like, for example, some people are extra good at sports, and some people are more creative and find music entertaining and things like that. And some of us are very into technical things and so forth and so forth. I usually, well, I've said that on a few occasions to friends and family who said, like, asked me about my job and like how I think about it and stuff like that, and I usually refer to it as I've just been fortunate enough that the sensation of reward that my brain gives out when I do something pleasurable just happens to be something that I can make a profit from, and that I have the necessary all the other things right in order to actually to do that in a decent way. And I look at the same as, for me it's no different from winning the lottery or finding someone like a soulmate for the rest of your life. All, as for what is they say, all is fortune, because everybody's fortunate in some way. If you have some people get a sensation of reward from creating beautiful music. I might not get that, so therefore, of course, I'm not going to spend the time to get really good at music, even though as an idea, that sounds really nice. It sounds lovely to be good at that sort of stuff. So we all have something that drives us, something like that. And that, I think, is honestly, that's the main thing. That's the main aptitude you will need. And I know that people question me about whether or not passion is enough and things like that. We can debate that for all as much as you want, absolutely. But I think we can all agree that regardless of if you have the talent to compete in the Olympics as a runner, for example, well, if you don't have an interest in running, well, you're never going to get there. No chance in hell. But if you do have an interest, then sure, you may not just based on that interest be at the level, get to a level where you can compete in the Olympics, but you're gonna do better than someone who doesn't have any interest whatsoever. And the same thing goes for here. Nobody can say if you have all the necessary things and so forth in order to make it as a software developer or anything for that matter, but if you don't, at least if you don't have the interest to really try your best, then you're never going to get anywhere. And that's the only aptitude that I argue is strictly necessary, because the rest of it, well, I have seen some unlikely characters learn how to program, and they're never going to be the best of the best, never, myself included. But you don't have to be the best of the best in order to be able to do software development. Just as myself, I'm a hobbyist when it comes to 3D graphics and stuff like that. I'm never going to be the next super artist or anything like that, but that's not my goal. My goal is to be able to make some stuff that I think looks kind of nice. Same thing with people who just do some hobbies with music or stuff like that. Not everybody is so into it that they want to make a career out of it. So the first and most important aptitude is that you have to have an interest for it. And then we can talk about more specific things. So it varies a lot here, so I can only give you the things that I usually have been told, at the very least, that are the things that usually are my strengths as a software developer. And so one of the things that I have is usually, as I said, first and foremost, I have let's call it above average based on what I've seen others and what I've been told, interest in the field. So what most lovingly or unlovingly, a lot of people have said that there is no such thing as a full stack developer, and I've had people tell me that when I've said that I'm a full stack developer. And I usually, in the beginning, I couldn't say so much about it, and I am going to agree with that. Mostly when people say that they're a full stack developer, it basically means that, yeah, you're a back-end developer with a little bit of front end, or front end with a little bit of back end. Like, you're usually one or the other more. Like, nobody's perfectly equal. And I won't claim that I am perfectly equal, but I'm the only person where I've worked with people who said those words to me and then gone back and said, I'm sorry. I I was like putting you down. I didn't believe that you really knew all these things and so forth. But like, yeah, and I go, that's not a problem, because that is what it usually is like for a lot of people. Like you say that a lot of people are full stack developers, but when it comes to deliver, they're actually just really, really good at one of them. And I'm not going to go as far as to say that I'm the best of the best or that I'm equal, but I have an interest that is at a level where most people will call it almost obsessive. Hopefully this channel of mine will give some credibility to that claim. And it has to do with that I genuinely, when I get into something, it doesn't matter what it is the only thing that I care about, and I just obsess over it over and over and over and over, because it's, as I said, that's the thing. My family members, what I was telling them, that it would be the same thing as if I get pleasure. I get pleasure of from learning things, from getting better at things, and I get so large amounts of pleasure that it's more important to me than, for example, going out and partying or going to restaurants, like these other things that most people would do. That's my biggest, that's the greatest strengths that I have. It's basically, I have an ability to, if I find something interesting, to do it so much that I start getting good at it. I've said this before. There's a anime series, I don't watch a lot of it, but I've seen the Naruto one, where there's a character called Rock Lee, where the basic origin story of that character is that he's not really great at the whole, like, being a ninja, which is the theme of this thing, or anything like that, but he has an ability to force himself to train harder than anybody else, and that is how he gets up to be an equal with a lot of the others in the story, right, or in the anime. I have a similar sort of thing. So that is, I would say, the biggest trait that I have. That if you can talk to me about basically anything, and I will find it interesting, as long as it's related to software or anything like that. And due to that fact, I do a lot. Everything from front-end, ops, machine learning, like, it doesn't really matter what it is. I find all of it basically stimulating and interesting. I mean, I don't know everything about it, but I have a lot of width. And as I've said to you guys before, in the beginning, width is you're not going to be able to have like a really deep understanding, but if you push long enough and you maintain that passion and that width, you will start getting depth as well. And I like to think I've been doing this for long enough now that I've reached a point where my width and my depth is at a level which is pretty decent, I would say. That would be my strongest trait. So what I want you to take away from this is that I would say that interest is probably the biggest aptitude you need to have. Like, we can talk about problem solving skills, we can talk about all kinds of things, guys, but the problem with that is that, like, it's so subjective that it's hard to nail down that, alright, so if you were really good at mathematics, that means you're going to be a good programmer, right? Well, no, because there's quite a lot of more things you have to know in order to be a good programmer. But to keep it really simple, at the very least, you have to have a genuine interest to sit for hours and hours and hours, practically every single day, and feel like the dumbest motherfucker who's ever lived, and try to do something, like just to make your program work, or to debug things, or to fix things, or to, like, just be really, really into a topic. You have to be able to really nerd out about something to get any good at this thing. Just as like a person who does sports or so forth needs to have the willpower and the interest to actually put on their running shoes, or go to the gym, or do all these things. It requires dedication over a long period of time to get really good, and without that you're gonna burn and you're not gonna get anywhere. And it doesn't matter if you're like me, who like loves everything about it, or maybe you just want to have a job or so forth. It is a significant investment. So unless you have the personal, like the ability to focus over extended periods of time and really keep at something, it's not going to work most of the time, at the very least. And if you ask me personally, that is, as I said, that is my greatest strength, that I can be basically obsessive about something that I find truly enjoyable. My biggest weakness is that if I don't find something enjoyable, it doesn't, like, there is not a force on this planet that, short of a gun to my head, that will make me care even a little bit, which is really, really bad. So I'm a little bit of a extreme curve. Like there's no, like what my friends usually say, it's either on or off with me. Either it's all the things about anything, like everything, 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 all the time. Nothing. There's no gray. It's black and white always. Have a great day.